Hi, fourth graders. This week we are starting a new theme in our reading books. This is going to be theme 5, and it's kind of exciting to think about that we only have 6 themes in our reading book, and so we're getting towards the end of our reading book and towards the end of the school year, which is kind of exciting to think about, having a little bit of a change in our weather and a nicer weather to come. So we are starting theme 5, and theme 5 is all about heroes. And so in theme 5, we are going to read 3 stories plus 2 short stories about heroes. And so on page 530 or 528, I'm off on my pages, 526 and 527 in your reading book, we have a poem along with a picture of a firefighter. Is called A Song of Greatness. When I hear the old men telling of heroes, telling of great deeds of ancient days, when I hear that telling, then I think within me, I too am one of these. And that's a traditional Chippewa poem translated by Mary Austin. So let's go ahead and turn the page and explore our theme a little bit more. So on page 528 and 529, we have a letter from our author. So as you know, at the beginning of each theme, one of the authors of the story in the theme writes a letter to you guys, the readers, about the theme and kind of just telling a little bit more about the stories out there you are going to be reading. And so this is a letter by David Adler, the author of the story that we are going to be reading in a couple weeks, called Lou Gehrig, the Luckiest Man. It says, Dear reader, in this theme you will read about people who have shown great courage, including one of my heroes, baseball player Lou Gehrig. Here are a few more heroes of mine. So he's going to talk about some of his heroes, and these are some people that you've probably heard of also throughout history in your life, because they are some famous or more famous people. And then at the end of his letter, he's going to talk about somebody else that is his hero that you've probably never heard of, because we all have our own opinion on what makes someone a hero, and we all have our own opinions on who a hero might be, right? Like your mom and dad might be your heroes, but they probably wouldn't be my heroes, right? Because maybe I don't even know your mom and dad, or maybe I don't know the good things that they've done. And so I wouldn't think of them as a hero for me, but you would for yourself. Just like you probably wouldn't think of my mom and dad as heroes to you. So we can all have heroes that have different qualities and different things that they have done. And it is our opinion whether or not we think they are a hero or not. So David Adler's first hero is Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was born a slave. In 1849, she escaped. She ran from one safe house to the next on the Underground Railroad. When she reached Pennsylvania, a free state, she later said, I felt I was in heaven. After all she went through, it took great courage to go back, but she did. She made 19 trips south and helped more than 200 other slaves escape. And under her picture, it says, Harriet Tubman was at war with slavery for the many slaves she saved, though she won that war. David Adler's next hero is Helen Keller. As an infant, Helen Keller lost her sight and hearing. Still, she went to college and became a writer and a public speaker. She learned how to swim and even ride a bicycle. Helen Keller worked all her life to help others, especially blind people. Her visits meant a lot to injured soldiers during World War II. Her good spirit and achievements brought hope to people with handicaps. Helen Keller taught me and millions of others that no matter what our problems might be, we still have to do our best. David Adler's next hero is Benjamin Franklin. Ben Franklin was a printer, writer, inventor, scientist, and statesman. He helped prove that lightning is electricity and invented the lightning rod, the Franklin stove, and bifocal eyeglasses. His work in France for our new nation helped win the Revolution. He signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Benjamin Franklin is a hero of mine for all he did and for his good sense and good humor. And the last one I was talking about, somebody that you maybe have not heard of. You haven't heard of. This is David Adler's brother, Edward M. Adler. Let's read to find out why he is David's hero. My brother Eddie worked in a hospital. He headed the blood bank. He was careful and made sure his workers were careful too. Their work, done well, saved lives. One afternoon in the parking lot of the hospital, Eddie saw the beginning of an attack on a nurse. Eddie saved her life, but he was severely injured. 5 weeks later, he died. After his death, Eddie was given many awards for his heroism, including the Carnegie Medal. Eddie had such courage. I am so very proud of Eddie, but I miss him terribly. You have met some of my personal heroes. Now as you read the selections in this theme, ask yourself who are your heroes. Sincerely, David Adler. And I'm going to go to the next page, page 531. And it says, what is a hero? David Adler has just shared some of his heroes with you. Think about the qualities you feel are important in a hero. How do they compare with the qualities of David Adler's heroes? Now you're ready to read the selections shown below and meet some more extraordinary people. Find out why many people consider them worthy of the title hero. Could they be your heroes too? So we're going to read 3 stories. We're going to read Lou Gehrig, The Luckiest Man, Happy Birthday, Dr. King, and Gloria Estefan. And then at the end of the theme, we're going to read the 2 short stories, Stormy Missy's Full and Sacagawea. And all of those stories, the main characters are going to be heroes, and we will find out why. So our story this week is called Happy Birthday, Dr. King. And I know we've all heard of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We've heard of him because we learn about him every year in school. We take time off for Martin Luther King Day and we talk about his accomplishments and how he is a hero to so many people. Does he have to be your hero? No, he does not. In order to be a hero, you don't have to be a hero to everyone, but you just have to be a hero to someone. And so today we're going to read a little bit more about a boy and why Dr. King is this boy's hero. So here are our vocabulary words. So in your books, you should be on page 532 and 533. And we have these highlighted words. We have the word boycott, civil rights, fair, protest, and stupendous. And we'll review those words again after we read page 532 and 533. A famous bus ride. One day in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks paid her bus fare and sat down at the front of the bus. This part of the bus was reserved for white people. When the bus driver told Mrs. Parks, an African American, that she had to move to the back of the bus, she refused. The police arrested her. Many people wanted to protest how African Americans were treated on the buses. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped to organize a boycott of all of the city buses in Montgomery. The response was stupendous. So many African Americans refused to ride the buses that a year later, the law was changed. African Americans in Montgomery could now sit anywhere they wanted on a city bus. In 1955, African Americans didn't have all the rights that white people did, but many people, both African American and white, were organizing to change the situation. Dr. King became one of the most important leaders of this peaceful battle called the Civil Rights Movement. Read Happy Birthday, Dr. King to learn more about Dr. King and Mrs. Parks and how they inspired a young boy many years later. So just taking a look at the captions of the 2 pictures on this page. The first one says Rosa Parks riding at the front of a Montgomery city bus in 1956, just after the bus boycott ended, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. leading a peaceful march for civil rights in 1965. So let's review those vocabulary words one more time. So a refusal to buy from a company is a boycott. The legal privileges every American citizen is guaranteed are civil rights. The money a person must pay to travel is a fare. To express strong feelings about something is to protest. And amazing means stupendous. Class, don't forget your assignment for tonight. Think about the Martin Luther King Jr. Assembly. His birthday is almost here, Mrs. Gordon said to her 4th grade class. Jamal, Arthur, you two wait. You have another assignment. Please take these notes from the principal home for your parents. A pink slip? I'm really in trouble now, Jamal thought to himself, walking home through the January slush. Maybe Mom won't ask me about school. Jamal decided to go in the front door and quietly upstairs to his room. Usually he liked that his mother was home from her job at the hospital before he got home from school. Today was different. Jamal, is that you? Is Alicia with you? Mrs. Wilson called from the kitchen. It's just me, Mom, Jamal answered. How did your day go? She asked. Well, we're planning Dr. King's birthday celebration and I have some math and Jamal pulled a crumpled pink slip out of his pocket. A pink slip? Did you get into trouble? She asked, looking him straight in the eye. Grandpa Joe came into the kitchen. What's this I hear about trouble? And Dr. King, he asked, what's the pink paper? It's just a note from the principal. It's no big deal, Jamal said. Yesterday I got into a fight with another kid on my bus. We both wanted to sit in the back seat. Grandpa Joe's smile disappeared. Fighting to sit at the back of the bus? I can't believe what I'm hearing, Grandpa Joe said in that voice that tells the family to sit up and listen. Why would you want to fight over something like that, he said, walking toward the basement door. I just can't believe it. Why is Grandpa Joe so angry, Jamal asked his mother. It's no big deal. It is a very big deal, especially to your grandfather. Why don't you go and talk to him about it? Grandpa Joe, I'm sorry that I got into trouble for fighting. I won't do it again. Jamal, you are 10 years old and old enough to understand. It's almost Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. What are you doing for the celebration this year? What does Dr. King's assembly have to do with a little fight? Grandpa Joe took a deep breath and began. A long time ago, I was raising my family in Montgomery, Alabama. This is what used to happen when African Americans wanted to ride the city buses. First, we'd get on at the front of the bus, pay our fare, and get off. Then we'd get back on again at the rear of the bus. We didn't like it, but that's how things were. It was the law. Then one day in 1955, a lady named Rosa Parks, Jamal interrupted, we read about her. She sat in the front of the bus and wouldn't give her seat to a white man, and she got arrested. But Jamal, there is more to the story. When African Americans heard about her arrest, many of us stopped riding the buses. We wanted to protest her arrest and get the same rights that white people had. That was the Montgomery bus boycott, and the boycott worked. We finally won without fighting. Now, you go think about that bus boycott. Maybe you can figure out why I'm so unhappy about your pink slip. Jamal, your sister's home. Come and set the table, Mrs. Wilson called. Jamal hurried up the stairs. He had some hard thinking to do. Heard you got into trouble, Alicia said to her brother. Oh, be quiet. Okay, you two, said Jamal's dad, coming in. Jamal knows he did something wrong. How's your homework going? Well, we have to think of something to do for the Martin Luther King Jr. Assembly. Everyone in my class is learning parts of his dream. I have a dream speech, Alicia chimed in. I'll think of something. Grandpa Joe and I were talking about the bus boycott. That should give you some ideas, his dad said. Did you know that Grandpa Joe took me to hear Dr. King speak when I was your age? You heard Martin Luther King Jr. yourself, Jamal asked. I sure did. It was during the boycott, too. Grandpa Joe took me to a meeting at a church one night. This man went up to the front and suddenly everyone stood and clapped. Then he started talking. I couldn't believe the power of his speech. That man was Dr. King. He told us why to boycott the buses and how we needed to help each other. Dr. King became a great leader of the civil rights movement. I know about that part, Jamal said. That's why we celebrate his birthday. But how to celebrate is the problem. Then remember, Dr. King always spoke out about peaceful ways to make things happen. Does that help? Peaceful, Jamal said slowly, thinking. You mean like not fighting? And those powerful ideas worked back then? Jamal, peaceful ideas work today too, his dad answered. Peaceful, Jamal said again, and his face brightened. That's it. Our class could do something to show that fighting is not the way to get things done. Maybe we could do a skit. Everyone could have a part, and we could have costumes, and I could be the star, and whoa, as Dad said, first you better eat your dinner. Then you can write down your ideas for Mrs. Gordon. Grandpa Joe, Jamal asked as his grandfather joined them, when you were a kid, did you ever do something really stupid that turned out to be stupendous instead? Grandpa Joe's smile returned, and he nodded his head. All right, children, settle down now. We have a lot of work to do today, Mrs. Gordon said. Let's start with the Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday Assembly. Who has an idea for what our class can do? Oh, Jamal? Jamal stood proudly. I have an idea for a skit. It's about these two dopey boys who don't understand about Martin Luther King Jr. They get into a fight over a seat in the back of the bus. That's the end of our story today, fourth graders. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could review a little bit of information that you knew about Martin Luther King Jr. and you could see why he was a hero to so many people. Have a great rest of your day.